Look, I don't blame people for not giving Luka a chance to make the conference finals. Luka was a huge underdog, but that's not new. He faced so much adversity before the NBA, but people discount it because, oh, but it was in Europe, how cute. Reminds me of what they said before he was drafted.
I don't believe he's a lottery pick.
Not a lottery pick.
No, I don't.
Wow.
That opinion is legit bias against European players. Luka's career before the league was a lot tougher than people think. He overcame a ton on and off the court that people don't talk about. His mom, Miriam, was a model, obviously, who married a pro basketball player named Sasha in Slovenia. Luka literally had the genetics of a pro basketball player and a personal coach from birth. He played all sports, but focused on basketball because he was so damn talented. His only real issue, though, was his dad's personal life. Sasha was also a huge basketball talent, but he didn't have the work ethic that Luka developed. After games, he would go out drinking and partying, which created problems in his marriage. Miriam divorced Sasha when Luka was just 8 years old, and that haunted him later in life. We'll get to that in a bit, but as a 9-year-old, Luka was already playing with kids 3 and 4 years older. At night, he would mop the court for his dad's pro team, who had a young point guard named Goran Dragic. It is so crazy that 11 years later, Goran and Luka led Slovenia to a Eurobasket championship. But at the time, Luka was still making his name as a youth player. His big break came at 13 years old at an international tournament in Italy. Luka led his club to a quarterfinal win with 29 points and 15 boards. Then 29 more points in the semis, and in the final, 54 points for a championship. His team still shows that film to their young players. I'm sure that makes them feel great about themselves. But every club in Europe wanted to sign Luka. However, Real Madrid is not every club. They are the second best team in the second best league in the world. Luka did not want to leave his family and his friends and his school at 13 years old. But how do you turn down that opportunity? After 6 months of literally saying no, he finally said yes and went to live in Madrid by himself. His mom visited as often as she could, but she cried on the flight home every time. Luka had no friends, he knew zero Spanish, but he was fluent in basketball. Real Madrid also had him play with older kids, and by 16, he led them to the U18 European Championship with an assist at the buzzer. There was nothing more for him to prove in youth basketball, so Madrid called him up to the legit pros. On April 30th, 2015, Luka became the youngest player in Madrid history at 16 years, 2 months, and 2 days old. He immediately came in and in 16 seconds hit a three and ran back on defense. Luka was a child, sharing the locker room with a bunch of big, hairy 30-year-olds. He even got in a playoff game that season, but became a legit rotation player the next year. In his first elimination game, Luka scored 9 points in 19 minutes off the bench. A 16-year-old was key on their road to beating Barcelona to win the chip. By 2017, there was no doubt, Luka was a generational talent with 23 points and 11 assists a game. That is a huge number in European basketball. Luka recently said on JJ Redick's podcast, it is 100% easier to score 30 in the NBA than it is in Europe. The rules are more geared for defense. They play more team basketball. The offense doesn't just run through like 1 or 2 guys. And they play 40-minute games. 23-11 is insane. In the playoffs, Luka was named the youngest MVP of round 1. He won it again in round 2, then again to send Madrid to the Final Four. At 17 years old, Luka already starred in a dozen big playoff games against people older and more experienced. Beating CP3 and the Suns was not a fluke. It's what he's used to. So 16-year-old Luka turned pro because there was nothing left to prove in youth basketball. 19-year-old Luka went to the NBA because there was nothing left to prove in Europe. Madrid star veteran Sergio Llull tore his ACL to start the 2018 season, so Luka became their go-to player. He set career highs every other week, and he even had a triple-double. Look, I know that doesn't sound like a big deal. Europe is different, okay? It was Real Madrid's first triple-double since 2007. It was the 7th triple-double in league history. They should see Russell Westbrook. But Madrid needed Luka to be a star because they had a ton of injuries and they were huge underdogs in the EuroLeague playoffs. Luka led Madrid with 17 points in a closeout game to reach the Final Four again. This was an NBA-level atmosphere with million-dollar athletes in packed, loud arenas. Other teenagers are playing in the college Final Four. Luka was competing against grown men. He barely went to the bench and led his team with 16 points and 7 boards against the #1 seed. His biggest moment though, back-to-back dagger threes in the fourth quarter. Madrid faced the defending champs in the final, and Luka won Final Four MVP. He was the best player on the biggest stage in Europe. So when people are surprised on TV right now that he led Dallas past the Suns, he already did this at 19 years old. And look, I know that EuroLeague is not the NBA, but consider this. Luka won MVP that year with the highest advanced stats ever. So by some metrics, he was the best European MVP of all time on the biggest stage that they have. 32 days later, he was drafted by the Hawks and then traded to the Mavericks, but his dad Sasha was not there. Instead, he wrote an open letter to his son on the internet. Quote, "What does it mean to be a good father? Now I am sure that I have the answer to this question. I was never perfect. Luka, my son, could you live without your child? Could you see your child walk away from you so he could start a new life away from you? Do you remember, Luka? You were only 13 when Real Madrid visited Slovenia to take you to their team that was far away from us. It really hurt me, but I was also extremely touched and excited. I would never allow myself to let you miss out on such a great opportunity. This might mean being a good father, Luka." Okay. Now look, we don't know the exact reason for Luka's cold relationship with his dad, but honestly, it's really none of our business. What we do know is he has dealt with a lot of pressure on and off the court. So when everyone is talking about how good he is at just 23 years old, remember, he has been overcoming big moments his entire life. Now, I'm not saying that Luka Doncic is the perfect player in the NBA. He has some things to get over before I think he can finally win a championship and win an MVP, but he is one of the best young players, if not the best young player that we have in the league. Very close to him though is Ja Morant, and because Ja has already gone out of the playoffs, I made an entire video about the big issue with Ja, because until he overcomes these, I don't think he can take that next step. Check the whole video out right here.